because we have to take a look at issues even beyond our shores, especially now that we continue to see how development is unfolding between Israel and Palestine. I was seeing both sides talk very vehemently in terms of the bombardments they've done and how much more they would do going forward. We're seeing the, if you like, reactions and several other contributions from around the world. We've seen efforts to find peace in the Middle East, particularly as it has to do with these two countries, Israel and Palestine, but it has become even more complicated by the day. People are now dead in their hundreds, and there are several hundreds, and millions have been displaced since when Hamas, from the side of Palestine, was said to have sprung surprise attacks against the Israelis. That's a weekend, and this is the fifth day after. It has not been funny in that region. We understand that Israel has now cut off water, amongst other measures, and that is worsening the plight of the Palestinians by the day. And more importantly, it makes peace even further. So questions abound as to how do we reverse, not as if, it's obviously not possible to undo the damage, but how do we reverse, or at least how do we ensure there's a cessation of fire? How do we ensure that both sides are ready to come to dialogue? Of course, there's been a series of dialogues as far as this matter is concerned over time, but it is far better, more valuable to have another dialogue, yet another dialogue, than to continue to fight and believe war will resolve this. But again, we can't be ignorant of our own domestic issues. We have problems in our backyard as a country that we have to deal with around the economy, politics, and more importantly, security as well. We want to discuss those issues this morning. We want to see what has happened the last couple of months since the APC government, led by President Bola Tinubu, took over leadership of this great country, Nigeria. But of course, as usual, we will look at the papers for you and give you perspectives and insight into what the stories are saying today. But we will take a quick break now. When we return, we'll bring you big headlines from across Nigerian dailies. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Let's go to the papers, everyone. Let's begin with Blueprint for you this morning. The big story in front of it says, Senate probes 2.3 trillion naira lost to oil theft in 2023. Fingers security forces, militia groups, hosts, communities, others. Alleges use of sophisticated methods by bunkers, collaborators, raises the alarm over food security. I will work closely with NBC to promote media freedom. Malagi, that story has details on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. 61.60% make English mathematics as NECO releases SSC results. IMF revises Nigeria's economic growth downwards over weak oil gas. We understand it has been revised downwards to 2.9%. That's the growth that's forecast for Nigeria. Okay. Army General bags 7-year imprisonment for stealing $2.1 million, $1.65 billion naira. That's on page 8 of the Blueprint newspaper. Okay, and then you go down to the foot of the page. APC silver fight back as court stops Guba candidate from Bielsa poll. Police confirm kidnap of 4 Nasarawa varsity students. Tinubu endorsed road construction with concrete, says Umahi. Global Television will bring you details of that report at 12 o'clock Nigerian time later today. Okay, then from the Blueprint, we'll move to our next paper now, Nigerian Tribune. Okay, we'll just look at the stories above the nameplate first for you. Okay, Nigeria Tribune, it says Army court sends Major General Muhammad to 7 years in prison. Orders refund of $2.1 million, 1.65 billion naira. Ayedatiwa, let's see that for you. Ayedatiwa appeals as Ondo court strikes out case to halt his impeachment. All right, 5.4 million electorate to vote in Kogi, Imo, Bielsa States, INEC. IMF commends bold reforms in Nigeria. Silva appeals ruling disqualifying him from Bielsa Guba race. Nigerian employer pays over 60 different taxes annually. Okay. NECO releases 2023 SSC results, withholds over 12,000 results to sanction 93 schools for mass cheating. Death toll hits 1,830 as Israel-Palestine war reaches day 4. Okay, what's more, import volume crashes by 60% at Lagos ports. Jobs may be affected. Contractors and gang up against FG over policy on asphalt. Works Minister, compromised staff will be flushed out, sent to ICPC, he says. And then there's a picture there, former President Goodluck Jonathan talking to a couple of young people. You find that on the front page of today's Tribune newspaper. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, a member of the West African Elders Forum Mediation Mission in Monrovia during his visits to some polling stations as Liberians vote during the country's general election. That was yesterday. Okay, let's see one more here from the Tribune. Reps to probe use of foreign currencies for domestic transactions in Nigeria. Tells CBN to stabilize Naira against dollar, other currencies. I'm sure that's why there's so much of cry now as to how our economy has been dollarized, and it's such a very sorry situation. Let's take our last paper just before we hit a break and then bring our guest on the show. Okay, gunmen abducts 4 Nasarawa varsity. That's Daily Trust newspaper for you. Gunmen abducts 4 Nasarawa varsity female students. Army discovers bombs in Ikeja 21 years after blast begins clearance. Northwest governors charts ways for regional development agenda. Security. Amidst high inflation, IMF asks CBN to continue raising interest rates. So what does that mean? Will CBN break under the pressure? Economic growth too weak for that. Experts. Nigeria's growth projection cut to 2.9%. Our focus on non-debt funds flow. FG. Stabilize Naira. Curb speculative forex. Reps urge CBN. Speculation has been a problem in the forex segment of the economy for a long time, and it will appear the cabal, as it were, that is in that segment of the economy is such a tough one, because even former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2016 had talked about how that there was a very small number of bureau de change in Nigeria when he was military head of state in 1983, and then he said fast forward to 2015, 2016, that number had shot right through the roof. And again, since 2016, when the former president made our statements, you have no idea how much it has increased further. And then it raises questions around how much work the CBN has done, how much more work it has to do in that regard. How do you curb speculation? One time, Aboki FX, a website that drives traffic using information, updates around markets, exchange rates, I mean the forex news, all right? But then it got shut down, even though we understand that that ban has been lifted now. But the question is, did that in any way meaningfully impact the forex speculative forex trade? I mean, from our end, from what we know, it never did. So it puts so much of work in front of the current central bank governor, Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, to see how we can cut to its barest this monster called speculation within the forex space. Okay, so we're taking a quick break, everyone. When we return, you'll meet my guest. We'll have a conversation. Do stay with us. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Looking at the papers a while ago, we're looking at Daily Trust newspaper, but then you have headlines, all right, so the left end front page of Daily Times to this issue, Daily Trust, I beg your pardon, all right, so you look at those headlines there. One says vehicle import drops by over 100% in 5 years, why North has not moved forward in education. Sultan. Israel versus Palestine, Netanyahu trying to start another world war. Bolaji Akiemi, all right. Governor Rada launches Casino Community Watch Corps. Okay, so these are basically stories coming from Daily Trust this morning. While we're waiting to connect to our guest, let's take a second look. Let's take a look again at one more paper here, This Day newspaper. Okay, but first we'll look at the front page, see the big story right on it. Okay, Niger Delta roads in deplorable condition. Clark tells Tinubu. APC Silva remains our Bayelsa Guba candidate, Will step up campaign instead, Ganduje boasts. Ex-governor appeals SAC, asks courts to stay judgment's execution. Our state doesn't deserve serial deceiver, says Diri, that's the incumbent governor of Bayelsa State. They're talking. IMF, Tinubu's policies paving way for inclusive growth. Revises Nigeria's growth prospects downwards to 2.9%. Edu, with global rise in debt service costs, Nigeria focused on encouraging domestic foreign investments. Okay. What's more, at the top of it, just above the nameplate of this day newspaper, Senate, Nigeria lost 2.3 trillion naira to oil theft this year, asks panels to probe security agencies, moves to transfer social investment program to presidency, worries insecurity may lead to acute food crisis, seeks adequate military presence in North. Okay, those are basically stories from this day. But then we have the Nation newspaper as well for you. Okay, above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, which is our next paper, by the way. Okay, so let's see what more we can find here. We have the Daily Sun as well. We have Daily Sun. Let's take a look at Daily Sun for you. All right, says Tinubu Atiku fight hard over CSU FBI files. Okay, those are the stories we can bring your way this morning. So let's take a quick break now so we can quickly join my guest and put our discussion on the road. Do stay with us, everyone. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Thank you for staying with us. We're having a bit of a problem connecting with our guest. We'll make that happen as soon as it becomes possible. But then we've been following several reports around insecurity, particularly as it has to do with the FCT. And we have heard several ugly, nasty stories of how people have been taken to places far away from their intended destinations. They've been exploited, their valuables taken, and then, of course, in some instances, they never came back alive to tell the stories. However, we're also seeing very practically efforts being made by security agencies, including, and very importantly, the police. We understand there's even some parade scheduled for today, but again, that's a discussion for another time. However, this is yet another pointer to how that efforts are being made to ensure that we're able to surmount this challenge. So we're going to play you a report put together by Danjuma Abdullahi, our partner correspondent, that highlights how this monstrous cell works, what their impact is on society, particularly on residents of Abuja in these instant cases, and what more can be done, plus how members of the public can also be on guard for themselves.
An apparently peaceful traffic situation can turn into a nightmarish experience with the activities of the popular but ignoble criminals called One Chance. They are violent criminals who disguise as either commercial drivers or as passengers. The trick is to shout, one chance, giving the impression that the vehicle needs only one passenger to move. But jump in and you jump into a pile of miseries. Kabiru Adamu is a security consultant and confirms that this pattern of crime has taken an alarming dimension.
It is a common occurrence in most city centers. In Abuja, as an example, it's very difficult for you to go to any space where there are a couple of persons ranging from 3 up until 10 that you will not find at least 1 to 2 to 3 persons that have not been victims of one chance, as long as the persons are using commercial vehicles.
So I entered the cab, hailing Papi.
Chidinma is a young mother. She had a terrible and pathetic experience in the hands of the criminals.
Chidinma was dropped by her sister right about here at around 8 o'clock in the evening. A Mazda car driven by a man and one other passenger at the back pulled over and hastily picked her. Destination Mbappe. But the journey was doomed because a set of horrible things started happening at the inception of the trip.
Immediately I entered, the passenger by my left was behaving as if he was collecting his balance from the driver. So I felt comfortable. I guess they did that so that I wouldn't have to notice what was going to go on. So immediately after he collected that balance, the next thing he did was to stretch his hands towards my side, and here was on my neck while here was trying to stop me from opening the door by my right. So as I tried to open the door by my right, they were shouting, you better cooperate. You know, go cooperate, but you won't die. You won't die this night. She said, go feel come out from this car. You know, go feel come out from this car. They were beating me. The first person that hit me was the man in front. So he punched me with, I don't know whether it was a ring on his finger or a rod. Mainly he punched me. That was when here, the blood started oozing from here. So I was in the pool drinking my blood. Then they now told me, lie down. Okay, lie down. You know, go lie down, ba. So I was struggling. They've collected my stuffs. They've collected my bags at that time. I didn't have my bag with me. So they were telling me, no, go lie down, ba. So I thought they wanted to rape me as they were telling me to lie down on the floor of the car. So as I tried to lie down on that floor, the one by my side too now slapped me, and he tried to strangle me too. That was where this marks came out from. So he was strangling me and telling me, no, you go die this night. Maybe you don't want to cooperate. You go die this night. You go die this night.
Chidinma was lucky to escape alive because she did not fit the correct profile of the perfect victim the criminals were searching for their sinister intentions.
By the time they were done beating me, it wasn't like, the madam, you know what you go do now? You go cut your breast. I said, okay, sir. He now said, do you have kids? I said, yes, I have kids. He just kept quiet. The next thing I saw was that he told me, okay, oh yeah, get up.
Alone in the night.
This young lady was also lucky because she survived and agreed to share her experience with us.
I've been attacked in this beggar before. I was hit from behind, and my phones and everything were collected. And it took me years to be able to stand in beggar and get a car and pick up a cab.
In a daring display of impunity, most of the criminals move around with POS machines for ease of stealing money out of the bank accounts of their victims. Security experts explain that this is very possible, especially with the emergence of new financial outfits who ignore the vigorous security check on customers before opening customer accounts.
A lot of the instances that we've monitored, they actually use the financial systems. Now, the reason for this is commonplace. Number one, we do not have a national database for individuals, Nigerians actually. And more importantly, even the banking system has not put in place infrastructure to reduce the possibility of this from happening. And then secondly, where it happens, to trace the perpetrators, arrest them, and then prevent further crime.
Abuja is Nigeria's seat of government. It is also a bubbling cosmopolitan city that attracts people from every part of Nigeria and even abroad who come mostly in search of economic opportunities. But like many emerging cities facing the challenges of growth, crime has become a major issue. The June 2023 edition of Nigeria Security Report for Beacon Intel, a security consulting firm, shows an increase in crime in not just Abuja but other major Nigerian cities. The FCT Police Command says it is doing its best to fight crime in the territory in order to protect the security and welfare of citizens.
We have created a tactical squad called Anti-One Chance, which they have been charged with the responsibility of these one chance activities to wipe away, in conjunction with the DPOs as well. The DPOs are doing on the divisional level, and this squad that I mentioned, Anti-One Chance, has been deployed also to each division.
The FCT Police Public Relations Officer says the police needs the cooperation of the victims and other citizens in order to tackle this despicable crime called one chance.
Sometimes these modus, they change their modus, though we've identified the modus they are using. But when they know we identify them, they also change their modus. So when if you find yourself as a victim, it's only wise and advisable that you report these incidences to the security agencies.
I actually did not believe that they could do anything about it. That was why I didn't report to them.
There were law enforcement agents that do not see this crime as a major crime. We've been in instances where we've monitored this development on behalf of our clients. We will report the cases by providing the telephone numbers that were used in the crime, the account numbers that were used in the crime. The response you get from the law enforcement is that they have bigger challenges, and this is the effort they will use in stopping this is not what the benefit.
Victims survive and injuries are treated, but the emotional scar takes a very long time to heal.
It took me months, or if not years, to actually recover. And psychologically, everything around me now, even if I enter a cab now, I will start to be conscious of where I am, because of everybody around me is a suspect.
The one that was repeatedly beating me, I didn't see the one in the front, his face, but the one at the back, I kind of saw his face. So when I see someone that looks like that person, I'll be like, are you sure it's not this man that beat me that night?
Kabiru Adamu says commuters should avoid flagging vehicles along the road. Instead, approved and designated motor parks should be used. Danjuma Abdullahi.
Always thank you, Danjuma Abdullahi, for that brilliant report. And there we'll continue to cover developments across the country for you here on Global Television. That's our program for you today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.